Hey friends, how's it going and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about analytics because if you have been working professionally as a developer, chances are you would have implemented some sort of analytics on your app. So for example, if you are a trading app, maybe when the user buys or sells an equity or an asset, you want to track maybe what is the symbol that's being tracked on. If you're working on an e-commerce app, chances are, the add to cart button or the buy button is commonly being tracked. If you're working on a social media app, then maybe the post button, when you post a message on the feed, is being tracked. So one of the problems that I believe some or most developers would run into is that the tracking can get really messy inside the view controller. So if you are currently doing the tracking in your view controller, then you should watch this video, okay? If you are doing the tracking in your view model, that's not so bad, but I'm going to show you how you can do it slightly differently in this video. And another thing to add to the complexity is that if the app or your company uses many different tracking providers, for example, you have like Mixpanel, and then you have Firebase, Google Analytics, and whatnot, then the code tends to get a little messy. So I want to show you how you can write it in a way whereby it's very clean and it's also testable. All right, so I have a demo project over here, as you can see. So again, with all these projects, I try to make it as short as possible, as succinct as possible. So this has about 100 lines long, so it's quite easy to follow. So before deciding whether you should watch the rest of the video, I'm going to just quickly walk you through what this project is about. Okay, so over here we have, so this is how it looks like. Okay, so it's just a view controller with a white background. And then when you tap on change background, it changes to red in color, all right? And of course, we want to track when this change background button is being tapped on and the color that's being used. All right, so over here, as you can see on my storyboard, it's just a very simple canvas with a change background button. And let's go into the code, okay? So over here, I place everything into one file so that I don't have to switch between files because that takes some time. So let's see. Our view controller is called home view controller. Over here, we have the view.load, and inside we bind it to the view model. So again, if you are a junior developer with 1 or 2 years experience, this video is really going to add massive value to you. Because firstly, you need to learn about architecture, how do you split the codes into different layers, as well as writing unit tests. Okay, so you want to be a senior iOS developer, you have to learn this stuff. Okay, so we do a transformation. Okay, basically this is to bind the view controller with the view model. And then we have an IB outlet over here that listens to the change button event, the tap event. Okay, so over here we have a view model, the home view model. We have an initializer that passes in a trackable protocol. So I'm going to explain to you what that means in just a while. And then of course we have the transform function, basically to receive the input and to split out the output. So again, if you're new to MVVM, the role of the view model is to handle the business logic, okay? And your view controller, ideally it should be as dumb as a UI view. It should not contain states, and it should pass things to the view model for that to handle. Okay, so what do we have at the top over here? We have a strut over here that says home event. So this strut contains 3 enums over here, and it defines the flow of data that's moving between the view controller and the view model. All right, so this is something new that I've added in this video. So as you can see over here, we have enum VC, and this is the output of the VC. So the VC can tell the view model that its view has been loaded and the change background button has been tapped. Okay, and over here, if you look over at the VM, it can output to the view view controller that to tell the view controller to update the background color. All right, and finally, we have a tracking over here that tells the tracker that the view has been loaded and the color did change, and for it to fire the respective analytics event. Okay, so if you see over here, I created 2 analytics over here just as an example. So we have Mixpanel analytics as well as Firebase analytics, and if you realize, the function name, the tracking function name is quite different. So this is quite common if you have used several analytics provider before. So we have log, name, properties, string to any, and over here we have track, event name, string, params is any, hashable to any. So it's very similar, okay? So if you can kind of understand what's happening over here, then probably you can skip this video and just use the source code here as reference. But if you want to walk through and understand the thought process behind it, feel free to watch the video, okay? So now I'm going to maybe put this at the side, and then I'm going to open up a new project so we can start coding the view controller as well as the view model and hooking up all those things together. Okay, so over here, this is, I just created this brand new project and it is as blank can be. So we only have the buttons over here as well as the IB function over here. So let me just quickly run this and ensure that, IB action over here. So let's ensure that the change background button is currently being handled, okay? So tap on this, okay, the breakpoint is being fired. Okay, so what we want to do is that let's create a view model. First, I'm going to change this to just home view controller so that it's easy to understand. Okay, so home view controller, let's first create a view model. Okay, so home view model, and this will be a class. Okay, command B to build, and then we're going to add the instance inside the view controller. So VM equals to home view model, and I'm just gonna initialize it like that. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to import combine over here, and then we are going to bind the view controller to the view model. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We are going to firstly define what are the inputs and the output. All right, so I'm going to create a strut over here. Let's call this a home event. So I'm going to create enum VC, enum VM, and then another one is enum tracking. Okay, so what does the view controller want to let the view model know? Okay, so maybe two events over here. We want the view model to know whenever the view deload happens, as well as when the change button, the change background button is being tapped on. So let's create another case over here. Change, is it change background button? Yeah, change background button did tap. All right. So what does the view model want to let the view controller know? Okay, so when the view model does its business logic, it will tell the view controller to maybe change the color of the background. So let's do case update view, or update background color, maybe background color, and then let's pass in the color over here. All right, so again, for the tracking, what do we want to track? So maybe in this instance, we want to track whenever the view controller is loaded and when the change background button is being tapped on. All right, so I can say case view loaded, and I can say change background color did update. Okay, background color did update, and then maybe we can pass in the color over here if that's needed for your analytics. Okay, so command B to build to ensure that everything is building successfully. So now that we are done, we want to create a function inside the home view model so that we can bind the view controller to the view model. Okay, so I'm going to use the function called transform, and basically I'm transforming an input to an output. All right, so I'm going to transform some kind of input, and I want to spit out some kind of output. Okay, so what is the output? The output is any publisher, and the output will be this one over here. So home event dot VM. Okay, let me just do it like that. So what's the input? Again, the input is of type any publisher, home event dot VC. All right, so the view model will receive the VC's event, and the VC will receive the view model's event, so to speak. Okay, so I'm going to create an output over here. So output, equals to pass through. Okay, maybe let's do it this way. Pass through subject, and then the output will be this one here. And then let's initialize this, and then I can do return output dot erase. Oops, I think I forgot to put let over here. Output dot erase to any publisher. Command B to build. I think it should. Oh, what's the problem? Oh, okay. I have to put never over here because we don't expect to return any error. Okay, so it's never. Command B to build. Build fail. Oh, I forgot this again. Command B to build. Over here as well. Okay, build succeeded here. Okay, let me maybe just expand this. Okay, so what we want to do is that inside the view load of the view controller, we want to bind. So bind basically means connecting both classes so that they can listen to each other, right? So let's call bind over here, and let's create a private function bind. So what we want to do is that we want to create let output equals to vm.transform, and we have to pass in an input. So what's the input? Let's create the input. Let's create the VC output over here. Okay, so private let output any publisher. This will be home event dot VC never dot output. Oh, sorry, not this, not any publisher. Pass through subject. Okay, dot init. Okay, and then we're gonna pass in the output over here, dot erase to any publisher. And then we will do, okay, in fact, we can do it this way. This is the output already. We can do sync event, and then let's switch through this event over here. Okay, so the events should be one only, which is this one over here, update background color. Okay, so if I do a dot, I would see update background color, and then I can do it this way instead. Okay, so what do we want to do when this happens? Basically, we want to just change the background color to this, and of course, we're in a closure, so I'm going to use unown self over here. All right, hope everything's okay right now. So we want to store this inside a subscriber. So var cancellables equals to set any cancelable, and then we can store it over here. Cancellables. Okay, I hope that is easy to understand. So what we want to do is that we want to handle the change background button tab now. So whenever this event happens, we want to fire it into our output. So we're going to do output dot send, and then what is the one that we want to send? We want to send this one, change background button tab. All right, as well as inside view load, I have to do output dot send dot view load. Okay, command B to build. Everything should build successfully. Okay, build succeeded. Okay, that's great. So now we want to handle this part over here. Okay, so I'm going to do input. Okay, but before that, maybe let's add the subscribers here. So just paste this here. I'm going to do input dot sync event. So what are the events that can come in from the VC? Let's do a switch over here. There should be two. One is the view loaded, I believe, view did load, as well as the change background button did tab. Okay, so maybe let me just print this out. View did load, and then let's do change button. Oh, change background button tab. Here, let me do it this way so that I can filter that inside the console. Okay, so let's run this on the simulator. Oh, oops, I forgot to do something here. I forgot to store this, so let's do that right now. Cancellables. Command R to build this, and then inside my okay, view did load happens. Okay, so if I hit the change background, notice that is being fired as well. Okay, this is good now. So typically, most people would write their analytics inside the view controller, and that's a problem because the view controller start to get really bloated if let's assume you have multiple providers. So I'm just going to copy this from my previous project, the completed one. Let me just put that at the top over here. So let's assume that you have installed the Mixpanel Analytics SDK as well as the Firebase Analytics SDK. All right, so we want to log this, use this to providers to log those events. Chances are you'd see very commonly, Firebase, you do all these things inside the view did load, and it just gets really messy. Or sometimes you might even track view did load. You create a private function and you kind of hide that somewhere at the bottom, or in fact you may even create an extension and put that all the analytics tracking inside. Well, let me show you a better way in my view. Okay, don't do that. Okay, so what you want to do now is let's create some kind of tracker. Okay, so let's create a strut. Let's call this home tracker. Okay, and we want to conform to a protocol. So protocol home, this is how you write protocol, trackable. Okay, so this will conform to home trackable. So what's the function that we want to do? And again, why do we want to conform to this protocol? The reason is because we want to be able to mock and test it. Okay, so I can do track. What do I want to track? I want to track this events over here. So it's home event dot tracking. All right, so over here, let's just copy this and paste this here. Oops, event. Okay, I can actually switch over here and do view loaded as well as background color did update. So I'm going to do LED color over here. Okay, so it's currently going to not work if I don't add the break inside the inside this space over here. So Command B to build, it should build succeeded. Okay, so now what I want to do is that I want to introduce the tracker class inside over here. So let's do private let. So this will be a dependency. So tracker, and this will be home trackable. Okay, so let's create the initializer. So let's pass this inside over here. So this is kind of like the secret sauce. Okay, so I'm going to default this to home tracker, which means when I do tests, I can actually pass this inside. I can dependency inject inside over here. So self.tracker dot equals to tracker, and then what happens is that inside view did load. Okay, maybe let's handle this first. So let color equals to UI color dot rate. So for example, when the user taps on the change background color, we want to update the background color to red in color. So let's do output dot send update background color to color over here, and at the same time I want to be able to track that as well. So tracker dot track background color did update. Let me just pass in the color over here. Okay, I can remove the print statements now. Okay, so similarly inside the view did load, we can call the tracker as well, tracker dot track dot view loaded. Okay, why is it complaining? I think it's because we're inside a closure and we are referencing some of these properties here. So let's do unowned self here. Okay, Command B, it should compile. Build succeeded. That's great. Okay, so now let's see where else we need to update. Okay, so over here, this is the place where we will add our analytics inside the home tracker class. So .track, .log, maybe let's call this view loaded, maybe home view loaded, and we don't have to pass in any properties. So an empty dictionary here, and then we can also call the Firebase analytics over here, home view loaded, and then nothing here. All right, so I hope you kind of get the point over here. So let's do for this one. So Firebase analytics.track home back BG color change or updated, and then maybe we can pass in like color, and then color dot, is there any kind of value over here? I think maybe let's string, accessibility name. I need a string, for example. Accessibility name is fine. Okay, command B to build. This is looking good now. Alright, so now we have done this already. Let's ensure that this is working. Okay, I'm going to put a breakpoint on line 30 and let's run the app. And let's hit the button. We should see two things happen. One, the background should change to red, as well as the this tracking case should be fired. Okay, so when I hit this, I'm here, which is great. Okay, so let's run this, and yes, we also have the background that's being updated. All right, now we want to add the test. Okay, so sometimes if your company is very data driven, you might want to write tests to ensure that you are tracking the right things. So let's do that anyway. So let's come over here and let's hit the plus button to add a unit testing bundle. Okay, just hit the finish button, and then we'll see this new folder over here. So the first thing we want to do is to do testable, import analytics demo. So you might be asking what is testable. So based on my research, testable allows this class to access some more protected properties within the target. Okay, so that's my understanding. Okay, so let's set up this, tear down. All right, so what do we want to test for? Let's assume we want to test for the tracking over here. Okay, so what is our, okay, maybe let me just indent this first. What is our SUT? SUT stands for system under test. So what do we want to test for? Private var SUT. Our SUT is the home view model. Okay, and then I'm going to do super.setup, and then SUT we can just initialize it like that. But obviously, because I want to test for the tracking, I'm going to pass in a mock tracker. Okay, so let me just finish up this this piece over here first. Super.teardown SUT equals to nil. Okay, so test, what do we want to test for? Let's test for the analytics. Okay, we can get rid of this and this, and we don't need this as well. Okay, so maybe let's start with writing the mock analytics, the mock tracker class. Okay, so let's do class over here, and then let's call this mock home tracker, and then home trackable. All right, so I have to implement the function. So I'm going to do track var track values is of type this, and let's default this to an empty array. Then track values dot append, let's pass in the event over here. Okay, so I hope it's easy to understand. Okay, so we want to pass in this mock tracker inside. So private var tracker, which is of type mock home tracker and not home trackable. Okay, so take note of that. And over here I want to pass that inside the initializer. Okay, so tracker like that. So let's just build this and make sure that this passes first. Okay, build succeeded. You can't really see here, but it succeeded. Okay, so what do we want to do? Oh, why did it succeeded but the test failed? Why is that? It's because we have not set this up yet. Okay, so let's do that right now. Equals to mock home tracker. Let's run it one more time, and I think it should work this time. Okay, pass. Okay, great. So what do we want to test for? So usually we write these three statements here to give us to guide us. Given when, then. Okay, so when what happened? When the button is being tapped on. Okay, so SUT dot transform. Okay, so let's create the input first. So private let input equals to pass through subject. Okay, we don't have that because we have not imported combine. So let's do that right now. So pass through subject, and what is this? Home event.vc. Okay, so home event.vc, never. We can do it like that. Okay, so I'm going to pass in input.erase to any publisher, and we don't need to have reference to the output, so I'm going to use an underscore like that. Okay, so when input.send view the load, then we want to assert that the tracker should receive an event. Okay, so we can do assert. We can do tracker, which is this guy here, and then we want to access the track values dot count. We can say it's 1. Okay, so let's just test this to ensure that this is happening. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, you can't really see here. Okay, pass. Great. What happens if we do input dot send and then we do change background to tab? If I run this, will this pass? Obviously it's going to fail because now there should be 2 events inside. Okay, let's see what's the error message over here. There should be 2 events inside this array. All right, that's why it says that's why the test fails. If I pass in 2, this is going to pass. Okay, so test pass, but obviously this is not comprehensive enough. So let's assume that we want to check that the second analytics event is the change background one. So let's do if case. Let me see what is the enum value. Background color did update. Let's do it this way. Okay, if case dot let color equals to tracker dot track values dot last else. Okay, so what we are saying here is that we are expecting the last element here to contain this enum. Okay, so else we're going to xct fail expect background color did update. Okay, and then what we can do is that we can xct assert equals that color is dot red. Okay, so let's run the test over here and let's see if this is passing. All right, test succeeded. So of course, if we are to come over to SUT and let's change this to maybe blue. All right, if your colleague accidentally changes the color to blue just because he likes blue better, then the CI is going to catch that and he has to fix it. All right, so it's going to fail. All right. All right, guys, so I've come to the end of the video. Let me know what you think, and I hope that this is helpful for you. Again, this is really useful if you have to integrate with a bunch of analytics, and this is how you can separate your code from the view controller, the view model, as well as the tracker class. Okay, I hope you benefited, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.